Well, thanks for everybody for watching. Mark Cardbox Academy here. I'm an idiot. I'm gonna sign off. See you later. Good night. No, I'm just kidding. What's up, y'all? Mark with Cardbox Academy here, and today I am super excited because we actually have Brittney Slays, the singer of Unleash the Archers, here with us to co-react to the song Abyss off of their title track, Abyss. Now, I'm excited for this for a couple reasons. Number one, it's always fun to have the vocalist here, especially when it's a vocal style that's not my specialty, right? Not exactly what I do or what I teach per se. So I'm really excited to get her insight and to see what I can learn about the song here. She has got a powerhouse of a voice. And I'm really excited to pick her brain and talk about what goes on here. The second reason I'm really excited is because Unleash the Archers, this was about a month ago, I believe, but still worth noting. Unleash the Archers actually won the Juno Award category for Best Metal and Hard Music Album of the Year. The Juno Awards are Canada's, I think, biggest music awards ceremony, award show. So that's a huge deal. And, you know, from what I've heard of Unleash the Archers, I can certainly say they deserve it. Because the music is powerful, the voice is powerful, there's a lot of elegance to it. It's just a whole lot of fun. If you've never heard Unleash the Archers, I have done one video of them previously, but this is going to be a fun one. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into it. Brittney, thank you so much for hanging out with us. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm feeling goofy. I have had more free time than usual, and like I haven't known like what to do today. So I did a lot of like admin catch. It's rare. It's rare. Totally rare. So I'm like trying to savor it, and I'm trying to savor it as much as I can.
Yes, please do.
Yeah, but it's, you know, it's fine. It's good. So we're gonna be chilling and listening to Abyss now. We were talking a little bit before the call. I think I've heard this song, but it's been quite a while. So I'm gonna kind of enjoy rediscovering it here. Now, is there anything that I should know about or I should think about while watching this video? Because I'm always interested, like if there's a little bit of context, or should I just go in blind? Like maybe that's the better way to go about it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say. Abyss. It's the first single from the record that we released last year of the same name, Abyss. And we purposely chose it as the first single because you don't have to know exactly what's going on in the record, even though it's a sequel to Apex, which we released in 2017. And it's sort of the beginning of the second chapter of this whole story that we wrote. But even then, we did it on purpose so that people could listen to it and not feel like they just got dumped in the middle of something and they had no idea what was going on. So yeah, I mean, I think I'll be interested to hear what you think. And yeah, maybe go blind. I don't know.
All right. Well, maybe I'll just go in blind. No context at all. I'm excited. To. We've covered one song here on the channel before. This will be song number 2. So I'm pretty stoked. This is a whole genre that I'm not too familiar with. Like I have spent most of my like life either listening to like weird like world music or like sludgy like Satan's Toilet like death metal and deathcore. So this is like a really different area, and it's I'm excited because I don't know like a lot of like the genre markers. So to me it's like being a little kid and being like, oh, I've never heard that before. What the heck? But anyways, let's go ahead and let's jump into it. For all y'all watching, this is Abyss by Unleash the Archers. Let's go. Ooh, spooky.
It's been a long time since I watched this.
Whoa. All right, so I'm totally going to irritate everybody and pause it already because that was really pretty cool. So already, like, you know, the first thing I want to say before anything is I love your guitarist with like the long red hair and like that like crab squat that he's got playing his guitar. He just seems like a cool dude. And also it's kind of interesting. Like there's like a lot of wood, like natural wood. The guitars are natural wood. The drum has like a natural wood finish. Anyways, that's beside the point. So the first thing I hear that's amazing, and you know what you're known for, right, is these huge powerful belts. And you know, the first like introductory note that you sing, it's like super forward, powerful. Then you come in with like this crazy big belt. And one thing that I always think is really important with being able to do that and hold it, and like you're kind of descending through these notes, is having like a mind-body connection, right? So it's one thing to be able to be like, oh, you know, if we want to move the resonance forward, if we want to add some twang, we tilt your rythmoid cartilages in. But I like, maybe you think that way, but I certainly don't. I also don't belt like that, straight up. But you know, oftentimes when we're singing like these crazy sections, we're not thinking about like the full mechanics. We're talking about how it feels to support and hold on to that sound. And that level of belt that you just did, where you were holding on to it, you know, intonating, moving through pitches and things, that was pretty wild. Like you're definitely like starting the song being like, yo, here I am, what's up? So I'm actually kind of curious to hear from you. And like, maybe this is a weird question, but like, if you were to describe how it feels to like hang on to that belt, and in this track here, it sounds super effortless. Like, how would you describe hanging on to a belt like that? Because that's one thing I'm always interested in, not necessarily how it works, but how it feels to do it. Well, that's a weird question, but what does it feel like to you?
No, I mean, it's great. It, you know, I love talking to other vocalists about these things because I really honestly am not very good at putting into words the way that I do things. So like if, you know, a lot of times I can watch someone sing and be like, oh, wow, the placement is really weird on that. Or like, oh, I get how they made that work, you know, and I can feel it. Like I can kind of see how they do it, like when I listen. So having other people be able to do that with me is really great, and be kind of like, oh, you're doing this thing there or whatever. But yeah, I mean, I purposely did a lower note at the beginning of that track because I constantly am doing the like just into the huge wail right off the bat with songs. So I wanted to do something a little bit different. So I went with the kind of just like a regular belt, and then sorry, I have like total phlegm going on right now. And then
You're good.
And then I went for the higher one. And kind of, wanted to move it around a little bit just to do something new, because for anyone that's a UTA fan out there, they know that I've done just about every wail out there that you can think of, trying to, you know, do something new. I just don't want to hit the same note every time and do the same thing every time.
Sure.
So I kind of try and, you know, play around with things a little bit. But when your body is like ready and in great shape, and you've been working your voice out a lot, and you're, you know, you're just kind of really working on that movement in your mouth and being able to move everything around seamlessly without thinking about it. Holding a wail like that is so fun because you really are very cognizant of it. You're like, okay, so I got to put it here for the belt. Like I'm on the front of my hard palate, and then I move it back onto my soft palate, you know, and then I'll put a little bit of vibrato in it at the end there, whatever, you know, and like you are very much aware of the physical movement that you're doing, or, you know, that kind of thing. So it's a lot of fun. And the best part is when you get to the point where you don't even really think about it anymore. Your body just does it for you. It's absolutely the greatest. And you're like off in la la land, like thinking about what you're going to have for dinner that night. Meanwhile, your body's just like doing everything. It's really great. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's like probably the ultimate goal of everybody, like maybe every singer, but certainly every singer who's interested in like metal and rock and in any genre. I remember my first experience with that was obviously with like a very high, like all texture, pure distortion scream. And I remember standing there and kind of just feeling like my body was hanging out and the sound was just existing out of me, if that makes any sense. And being this was quite a few years ago, but me being like, holy crap, I think this is what it's supposed to feel like. And you're right, like you can kind of just like look at your watch, like who wears watches anymore, what year is it?
Hey,
but like I totally know that feeling, and I think that a lot of people they hear like this word of like connectedness, and it's totally like a vocal coach vaguism, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm totally not throwing shade because like, hello, that's what I do. But like you described really well, I think what that connectedness is. So that's really cool. Anyways, we could chat about that for a long time, but I guess we have a song to listen to. So let's go back a little bit. Just so now that we've talked about it, they can kind of hear it in context. Looks like it starts right around here, and we'll keep going. So sick. Okay, it sounds like we got like a tiny little break. So I want to talk about a couple other things again. So one thing, I think I mentioned this in the last video. If I didn't, I'll mention it now. But one thing I really like about your voice and the way that you sing is you command the style without falling into tropes. And let me kind of describe what that means. So in this section here, your voice is like, you're definitely leaning on like the warmer, richer tones, right? You're letting some of that low end through. And I find a lot of times when people try to do that, right, sometimes they will accidentally slip into like a bar rock type of voice, right? Because they'll pull in all that low end and it's too much. But with you, like, you definitely don't hit that at all. It's like this strong, tall, commanding tone that really contrasts nicely with the wailing that came before it, right? And now that I'm punching my mic over here. I do that every video. It's like an inevitability. I have to punch my mic. I should just do it at the beginning and get it out of the way. Made me lose my train of thought. But yeah, so I love how you command the style and the genre super well, especially since it's a genre that I like. I'm not in at all. So for me as an observer, I'm like, holy crap, that's really impressive. And the contrast is really interesting. Was that like a conscious choice, doing like the darker, warmer tone once we're kind of getting into the song after the wail, or were you just kind of like, I don't know, this sounds good. I'm just gonna sing this way while I track it. Tell me a little bit about this section. Anything and everything I'm interested in.
Well, to be honest, I knew that we were gonna start the set with this one. It was gonna be the kind of the album opener. There is a little bit of an intro before it, but it really just kind of leads right into this song. So, I knew that this was going to be what we were going to open the shows with when we started to tour the record. So I was kind of like, I'll give myself a little bit of a break here. And
oh, okay.
So I didn't want to just like come out wailing the whole time, and also the whole feeling of this part of the record is our main character, who we call the Immortal, has just woken up out in space, and he has no idea where he is, and he's really kind of like, oh, what's going on? Where am I? Like, oh man, why am I awake right now? Like, usually I sleep for thousands of years. It doesn't feel like that. Where am I? Oh my God, I'm on a spaceship out in space. Like, and he's kind of very groggy and tired, and I just wanted to have that feeling of waking up and kind of like that the moment when you open your eyes and you realize that you're in a new place, and kind of that growing excitement and that kind of thing. So I really wanted to build. The whole record is like just about building basically to this huge cathartic moment, about 80% of the way through. So it's, yeah, it really kind of was important to me that it had that feeling of a beginning. So I didn't want to just like, I mean, like we wanted to slay faces, but I didn't want to do it vocally just yet.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That's I think that's one of my favorite things about like doing these types of videos, like with the actual singer or vocalist of the song, is that, you know, there's so much that goes into, and it's been a while since my band performed. But there's so much that goes into being a vocalist and being a singer that's outside of just making the sounds.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's deciding what's going to tell the best story here, or what's going to be my most strategic move on stage. You know, what are those moments where I need to give myself a break? What are those moments where I need to, you know, hit the gas and just kind of keep going? So yeah, like knowing that this was going to be the set opener is like, it totally makes sense. That's super fascinating. And, you know, I'm definitely going to be keeping you said this main character is called the Immortal in it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to watch this video with that context in mind. Let's keep going here though. But yeah, love everything so far. Super cool.
Thank you.
All right, we'll call that a good transition point. Oh, that was so sick. Just boom, hitting that you know, that's totally fine. Just hitting all these like crazy high notes like it's nothing. I do that all the time.
Yeah.
No,
why
I don't. Not even remotely. So there are a couple of things I want to talk in there about as well. So I don't remember the melody, obviously. But you say, please show your face, and you have this really amazing like descent. Da, 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 please show your face, something like that.
Yeah.
Like I don't like have anything in depth to say about it other than that I love it. It's like kind of weirdly sorrowful. The note that resolves that section is really beautiful. I want to go find it and listen to it again, but that might be too far back. Another thing that I'm really enjoying here, maybe this is a little bit nerdy of me, but like I super love your vowels. Like maybe that's a dumb thing to say, but
No.
like your ahs, your uhs, your ohs, like they are just such a nice balance of roundedness and forwardness at the same time. Like we're not losing that like bright pinginess on top, but it's also not sounding like, but then when you contrast it with like that crazy high wail there, it's like, oh shoot, so like we've got this contrast in timbre that I really, really enjoy there. Weird question for you, because I totally do this. Maybe you do it too. But do you just like ever walk around your house just playing around with vowels? Like you're just like in the kitchen or like, you know, wherever watching TV and you're just like la, ah, ah.
Absolutely.
All the time, right?
Yes, yeah.
So nuts.
Well, it's I'm feeling for placement, right? And like I hate awe. Like I hate awe. It's so open and there's so little control that you can get with it. So I'm always trying to find like, where can I put awe that I have more control? You know, I need to control this vowel better. But it's really funny that you say that because I've been doing vocal streams on Twitch. Normally I just play video games. But for the month of July, I'm doing vocal streams. And so what I'm doing is I'm getting ready for tour, basically. So I do like a whole hour of warm up, and then I go through a lot of the songs that we're going to be doing on the set list, and then I do a little bit of requests at the end. And so when I'm warming up, I'm constantly talking about vowels, and so the Twitch chat has created these. They're called commands. So you just like exclamation vowel. And so now they've got a command for each vowel. It's really funny because I just talk about how important they are all the time. So it's really funny that you say that because I do really think about the vowels when I'm recording quite, massively, because it's super important when it comes to how the song is going to come across. And, like my favorite thing to do, and something that a lot of people do, is when you have an E on the end of a phrase, right? You turn it into kind of an A noise, can you help me? You know what I mean? Something like that, instead of saying, can you help me? Because me is just such a kind of, it's just a little too driving in a lot of instances, actually. So I think about that all the time. And then when I'm trying to get ready for tour, I'm constantly feeling around for what sounds best, Okay, so this note is I'm pushing a little here or whatever. It might get a little nasally if I do it like this. So I'm changing them all the time. And so sometimes the word doesn't really sound like it's supposed to, but it just sounds better. It sounds warmer. It's more approachable. And it's not, especially when you've got, the gain cranked on a really high end microphone or something like that, it's going to be, if you do that, if you do the vowel like that, you're going to, shatter some eardrums. So yeah, constantly thinking about that. Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah. And that's something that I hadn't really thought. Well, I mean, I hadn't really thought about until just now with your music, but yeah, since you're like very much like a power belter, right? Obviously you're not stuck to that, but that is an area where I don't think anybody would argue you definitely shine. That's something that you would have to think about. In my music, I do very little like big heavy belting, right? But yeah, I guess if you're gonna, like you said, have the gain cranked and think about like a live setting, that's another aspect. You're like, I don't want to break any equipment. I don't want to shatter any eardrums. So
right.
Maybe I should sing this a little bit differently. That's kind of fascinating. Speaking of tour, I have some questions for you that just came to mind, but we'll listen to a little bit more of the song and get into it. But I'm tucking that away in my think meats so I don't forget. Let's go back a little bit. I want to hear that melody again, because it's just it's so strangely sorrowful to me. It just hits me as being sorrowful. I don't know why. Let's try right here. Here looks good.
Singing along all the time.
Cool. So now we've got some of that warmth back, but I'm hearing a little bit of grit. I'm hearing a little bit of gravel, a little bit of grind on your onsets to some of these words, which is really, really cool. Now with that, because that's most of the people who I talk to and most of the students I work with, we're doing like toilet bowl sounds, right? That's mostly what I do. So I'm always interested with, those like really deep, like gurgly, guttural sounds, it's kind of like a moniker. Yeah. Like in my, you've probably heard this before, but in my neck of the woods, if somebody's like, dude, your vocals sound like a toilet or like a drain pipe. It's like, thank you so much. Like, that really means a lot. I appreciate it. But I'm always interested with people who specialize so much in like this big, powerful belting. Was that something that came naturally to you? Because combining, I always tell people, especially my students, this heavy textured stuff is a lot easier than singing. Like, it surprises people, but like what you're doing is way more complex and difficult, in my opinion. So adding grit to your clean voice, is that something that kind of came naturally, or did that take a lot of time and training for you?
Oh yeah, no, definitely lots of time and training.
Mm-hmm.
It was something that I kind of happened across, actually. When I first started like singing in the band, I was still very much on my the classical side of things still, and I was trying to find my metal voice, and I discovered this band called Lost Horizon, and they have a vocalist who is absolutely insane, and he does that. He kind of roughs it up, but he still uses like all of his range, and he still does all of his highs perfectly clean and beautiful, and like just bell tone, but he's still his lower stuff, he makes it kind of gritty. And so when I heard that, I was like, oh man, like this is what I need to do. And of course, you can't, it's quite a bit of distortion, and if you do it right, it's not hard, but you can't just kind of do it right off the bat. It's something that you got to work towards, and something that you got to work into every time, basically. So we take time off. We don't really practice all the time. We usually only practice a few months before we hit the road on tour. So that's, sometimes it can be months off, and I'm just singing like pop music in the car. So getting my voice back into shape for that kind of thing takes time, for sure. And so we'll always start with easy stuff, and I won't even belt, really. I'll do a lot of parts in my head voice and just kind of get my voice back into the swing of things. And then I'll start belting and work my way up to that, get my diaphragm into really good shape, and get my vocal folds ready to, really resonate. And then at the, the very end, I'll start throwing in the Hetfield vocals, is what I call them, the motorbiking. And
the motorbiking, yes. The motorbiking, yeah.
And then, because that's, it takes the most, like you said, it takes the most effort. So I always, when I'm like 6 weeks out, I'm like doing the easy peasy, and then 4 weeks out, I'm starting to really belt all the time, and then 2 weeks out, I'm doing the grit. So I'm just starting to add that into my vocal routines and stuff like that right now. Yeah.
I gotta say, I am so thankful to hear you say that. And like I have such an admiration now, especially for you, like totally taking it that slow, but also being willing to talk about it taking slow, because like you are much more in the limelight than I am by a whole lot, and even like me at like my smaller level, I sometimes feel so much of this pressure to be perfect all the time. And I know my students who I'm helping with, like, false chord guttural screams and stuff, they have this expectation that like this is something that if I just position my muscles in the right way and push, like I can hit every time. And I'm like, yo, listen, sometimes there are those outliers that can do these things like without any sort of prep, but we're doing like a very athletic thing, right? You're not just learning how to do it doesn't mean you never have to stop working at it. You never have to go in and out of like not necessarily retraining, but refamiliarizing yourself with the technique. Because I know, especially with this whole Rona situation, so many of us, we practice a lot less than we used to. And then, you meet your vocals again and you're like, oh, hey, buddy, how's it going? Yeah, I remember you.
Oh, so you can't do that thing
it's
anymore?
Really cool.
All right, let's work on that.
Yeah, totally. And like one thing I notice amongst other vocalists and singers is there's this deep-seated fear that someday you'll forget how to do it. You'll wake up and it'll just be gone. And I get emails like this. I'll be like, Mark, I forgot how to do high screams. I think I lost it forever. And I'm always like, when's the last time you did it? And they're like 6 months ago. And I'm like, no, like it's been 6 months.
You'll get there.
So You'll get there. Yeah. So that's amazing. I love hearing you say that. And building on that, that's actually a good segue to what I wanted to ask you. I'm always interested to hear, especially, you're doing like the very high end of this athletic stuff. What are some things that you do, especially now that I know that you are so willing to ease back into it, which I think is amazing. What are some things that you do when you're on tour to just take care of your vocal health? Because we all talk about sounding cool, but we sometimes forget that sounding cool on the opposite side is practicing good vocal health. So what are some things that you do while you're on tour, just, I don't know, because that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's really important that you take care of your voice when you're a vocalist, because your body is your instrument. Unfortunately, the rest of the boys can get completely obliterated and play fine the next day, and I cannot. So I don't really drink when I'm on tour. If we have a day off the next day, I'll have some booze cups with everyone and have a party. But I mean,
Sure.
even then, it's not really like a huge. I just try to stay away from it as much as possible. And of course, I get as much sleep as possible. So I'm always the first one to bed and the last one out of bed, where I can help it. The bus tours are absolutely the best because I just am like in my bunk all the time, and I roll out
Nice.
like for load in, and then we finish the show and I'll hang out a little bit and party it up in the bus, but I'll be in bed like before everybody else. So it's I'm always trying to get as much sleep as possible. Of course, the obvious ones like no ice water, no cold water, no ice cream, no like any kind of milk products or anything like that. Try and stay away from coffee and cream and that kind of thing. And I really shouldn't have sugar, but I love sugar after a show. It's the greatest thing on the planet. You are so low in calories, like you just burned so many up on stage, and you're just sweating your balls off up there and working really, really hard. So yeah, if there's like candy in the green room afterwards, I'm all over it. And our fans have started taking to bringing Sour Patch Kids to the show for us, which I love because they're my favorite. So I know.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm always like digging into those at the end of a show just to get like kind of like, get some energy back. And but before a show, I won't touch them. And I always warm up. I never go on stage raw. It's the worst thing that you can do. I know there's people out there that think that the first song is the warm up, and that's just not who I am. And so I always warm up for at least, like at the beginning of tour, I probably warm up for about an hour. And then as tour progresses, my voice singing every single night, eventually it gets to a point where I'm just kind of always, always warmed up. So, I'll, warm up for like 20 minutes by the end of it. And I take a lot of vitamins, like every kind of vitamin you can think of for, like your immune system and just kind of fighting off everything that is out there, because when you're living in such close quarters with so many other musicians and you're coming into contact with so many other people, it's really important that you hand sanitize and take vitamin C and echinacea and oil of oregano and all the the concoction. I have like one of those little things for old people that have the days on it, and it's just full of all these pills. And I take vitamin D as well, because you gotta you live in the nightlife when you're on tour, you're sleeping during the day and you're awake all night, so you got to get that vitamin D, keep your spirits up, that kind of thing. But kind of that's really it.
You say that's really it, but I'm like standing here and being like, that's literally like textbook everything you should do. Like that's like that's about as perfect as it can get. Although I'll say, I think the most impressive thing is that you're able on a bus with all your bandmates to go to bed and actually fall asleep while people are still up and like hanging out and talking. Because like me,
singing along to music really, really late. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't do that. I'm an incredibly light sleeper, but that's awesome. That is, so everybody watching this video, if you're one of those people who's like, nah, I don't need to take care of my voice, you do. Anyways, let's keep going. Let's go back. I don't know. Here looks good. Cool little portal shot. Boom.
My path always guides me, there's nothing to fear. Then why do I feel so immensely alone? This can't be the end of my story. Onward I go once again, fighting my way to my final end to their best. Out, so far
Yeah.
beyond sunset.
Okay, cool. So I hear a guitar solo, so that tells me it's a good time to pause. Yeah, so I'm listening to you control those vowels like you're talking about, like not saying imagination, saying imagination and stuff. So now, like now that you pointed out, I'm listening to it super intently. Another thing that you do that I think is really cool, and I mean it's good singing technique, and it's something that is important to do. But now I say this word and people always giggle. But it is a phonetics word. It is a speech science word. I'm sure you're familiar with it, being a singer. But when we take two vowel sounds, ah, e, and create them, make one syllable, I, that is called a diphthong. All you people on YouTube laughing, be mature. But one thing that you do that's really cool is you split that, right? So. I don't know. Being a death metal guy, the first word that comes to mind is hate, because we're also negative and dark, of course. So hey, a one syllable, hey. The two notes having their own syllable the two vowels having their own syllable and having their own note is really pretty cool. And I hear you doing that, and it's pretty neat. Is that something that you're like aware of, or is it just like, I don't know, man? I just sing, and maybe I split some of these syllable vowels up. But yeah, it's just one thing I noticed, and I think it's really, really cool. Is that something you're familiar with, or you're like, what the heck is this guy even talking about?
No, yeah, for sure. It's definitely a writing technique. So if you don't want to hold a note out just on a single note, you want to add a little bit of interest to it. So, but if you're moving, it helps to also move the vowel with it as well. And or if you kind of want to hold it out really long, to slowly bring it to that other vowel is just kind of a little bit more exciting. Who does that a lot is Bruce Dickinson from Iron Maiden. So he'll kind of end his phrase like that, hey yeet, or that kind of stuff. So it's it's definitely something that that I sometimes I'm like, ooh, I'll do that here, and then sometimes I just do it. It's like there's a little bit of being coherent of it, and a little bit of it just kind of happens. It's a good way to just kind of add a little something more to a note so that it doesn't get boring, really.
Yeah, but that's perfectly said. And I think that kind of goes back to what I was saying before, is there's so much more to being a singer and a vocalist than just making the noise. Like, oh, I can sing like a B5. I mean, that I can't, but I can sing a B5 and it's beautiful and it's amazing. And it's like, well, it's one thing to be able to sing the tone, and it's another thing to be able to keep that tone interesting, to keep the song moving. Because so much of what you do, especially in this genre of music, is you drive and guide the song. And I mean, of course, we got the drums that we're moving along with as well. But you're very much in the forefront, commanding all this attention. So the way that you deliver the notes is in the song itself is super important. And yeah, like you do that super well. We'll go back a little bit and we'll keep listening. I like these portal shots. I think they look really cool. Let's find one. Hey, there we go.
Abyss.
Nice. Face is just melting.
I know, I love their solos in this one. Super catchy.
Yo. There he is.
imagination. Open my eyes to phenomenon and hope. Cry into
Wow.
the chasm ahead, into the sky never ending. Although time will tell if I'm worthy of it.
I'm gonna guess I found the immortal. Yes.
No, that's actually the matriarch, our antagonist.
Well, thanks for everybody for watching. Mark Cardbox Academy. I'm an idiot. I'm gonna sign off. See you later. Good night. No, I'm just kidding. Well, any other thoughts before? I think we're close to the end. I have to like peek around my digital camera or my DSLR here, but it looks like we're getting pretty close to the end. Any other thoughts before we finish the song out?
No, I think, yeah, we'll see it through.
Okay, let's do it.
If I'm worthy of it, a future final transcending.
Ooh. Nice. We got the guy mopping.
He's like,
I love that.
oh, is the portal going to come back? No? All right. That's actually Rod. That's him right there. The guy that
Oh,
directed
really?
it all. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What a fun way to end the video. So I'm gonna have fun, and I'm gonna stretch too far, and I'm gonna say like it's actually really poetic that like you were up in the sky and in the nebula, and now there's such a grounded thing as mopping the floor, right? So like we've connected. I'm totally purposefully like just getting a little goofy, but what a fun way to end such an epic music video. That's actually really cool. It reminds me of a horror story I have with a cyclorama with a room like that, but we basically accidentally stained everything and we had to clean it up before they got back, and we did. It was a nightmare.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's a story for another day. Learned a lot of lessons that day, but what a cool outro. Like I loved the sort of, I don't know if polyrhythmic is the word, but I loved the synthy. Really interesting. Not at all where I was expecting the song to go. But I loved it. I loved that sort of unexpected change. Also, I love how throughout the song, and especially I paid attention to at the end, how you're throwing the octaves in, right? You've got your main vocal line, and then we hear either the higher octave or the lower octave beneath it. Super cool, or the harmony or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, awesome outro, awesome song, awesome vocal production and vocal performance there. Any additional thoughts or things that you want to point out about the singing or the song or anything else like that? Because we could probably like talk about it for 45 more minutes, but I don't know if people on YouTube want to watch that because that's a long video. But yeah, any additional thoughts that you want to bring up or you want to point out?
I mean, not really. I think probably got most of it. I'm sure there's plenty of things, but I just, I can't think of them right now on the spot. It's always the way of things, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
But no, yeah. I mean, this was our first time writing in E standard, so it was quite a change for me. It's why it's a little bit less belty than the Apex record was. So I did have to work harder to make the songs more dynamic. So definitely a lot of layering, a lot of harmonies, a lot of popping in there with those wails, that kind of thing, just to to kind of add a little bit of some layers to it. So but it is
Sure.
a little bit more chill vocally for me because of that, so that's kind of nice. And but yeah, just can't wait to play it live. It's gonna be a really, really good time.
Oh, it's going to be amazing. I also know that all the viewers watching this, in the future when we premiere this, they're going to say, "Oh, more. This is easy. This is for me. This is crazy hard. So no, this is your easy spot. We get it." No, It's amazing. It came across so well. I really enjoyed it. And again, I really appreciate you being here to talk with me about it. Because, you know, oftentimes as it goes, I do these videos by myself, and sometimes I have to guess, especially when they're like multiple vocal layers and things. So it's always interesting to be like, you know what? I got the person right here. Tell me what happened. And it's always best described by the person who actually performed it. So we'll go ahead. We'll wrap it up there. If you're watching with us and you really enjoyed Unleash the Archers, go check out the video, the actual video. Go like it. Go subscribe. Pick up an album or two if you really liked it. Support the musicians. Feel free to subscribe to the channel as well. Getting close to that 100,000 mark. But beyond that, we're gonna sign off. Brittney, have a wonderful evening. Thanks for hanging out with us. And as always, to all of you, many thanks. Much love. I'm out.
Thanks.